Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education on Monday, May 24th. And if you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started this evening, I would like to ask for just a moment of silence in remembrance of Dr. Stephen Nichols, who was our superintendent from 2002 to 2007, who we recently lost. Thank you. And then also, I'd like to just take a moment to congratulate all of the graduates from Washington and Jefferson that we had this past weekend. We had the parades on Thursday and Friday and a marathon graduation yesterday. So it was really great to see those children, finding some joy and the end of this part of their journey. So that was a very good thing that we were able to get that done for them. And then one last thing is, Mr. Dilly, today is just not a regular rainy Monday, is it? What happened today?
You're referencing myself?
Yes, sir, I am.
Well, late this afternoon, I successfully defended my doctoral dissertation.
Woo!
So
All right.
So congratulations, Dr. Sean Dilly.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
That's great. And we'd love to keep, the title and blah, 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 Jefferson County after your name. But, if that's not going to be in the cards, it's not going to be in the cards. But there's still time to change your mind, just so you know.
Well, nothing that Jefferson County has done wrong, I'll put it that way. Just a big opportunity.
Right. Well, excited for you. You never know if the world were to shut down because of some pandemic or something and you had to stay, I shouldn't curse us that way. We've already been there, done that. We don't need to go back. But if for some reason, things don't work out, just, you know where to find us.
I do.
And we know where to find you for the next several weeks too, so, all right.
If you don't like that real hot weather over there,
All right, so we're going to start this evening with a presentation on Feeding School Kids program, Martin's Food Store.
Good evening.
Ms. White.
I have the pleasure this evening of introducing Devin Ebersole, who is the assistant manager of our local Martin store. Devin, if you'll please stand. And Mr. Gregory Funkhauser, who's our local store manager here at Martin's. And I know they approached us early in the school year and did a wonderful thing for the students of our community. Martin's, which is, as you know, their parent corporation is Giant Food, implemented a feeding school kids program which focused specifically on eliminating hunger and food insecurity among students so that they could better focus on learning. The program was designed to provide funding to our schools, specifically to our child nutrition department. And Mr. Funkhauser and Mr. Ebersole generously and kindly took that initiative on. The way the program worked is that customers would say yes to round up their grocery bill, and then the order totals were rounded up to the nearest dollar. And we're very pleased to announce that Jefferson County residents, in the spirit of which they live, were very generous. They rounded up so much that our local Martin's this evening is able to award Jefferson County Schools $19,658.19. So a huge thank you to Martin's for partnering with Jefferson County Schools in order to help us help students.
Yes.
And now we'd like them to step in with a photo op with the board, if you would be so kind to give them a moment. I think Hans will.
Gentlemen, if you'll step back there and come on.
It's amazing.
yeah, that's awesome.
so much.
Thank
That's
you so
wonderful.
much.
That was
Okay,
really,
let's
really
go
cool.
slide in just a little bit.
That's a lot of money.
All right, is that good for you? All right, lens cap off, good stuff. Dr. Joy, Cable, if you slide in just a little bit. Oops.
Great with the details.
We can Photoshop that. All right, thank you all very much.
Very
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much. Very, very kind. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Definitely.
Thank you again.
Yes,
Thank you.
I love your store.
I know, I do too.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you to all. Have a good evening.
The residents that donated.
Right, to the
You don't think,
community.
you don't think it makes a difference, and, you know, 20 cents here, 20 cents there, that's amazing.
Goes back to every penny counts.
Yes, yes it does.
Well, Martin's
Yes,
also
it does.
donates to community ministries.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
All right, Ms. White, I believe you have a Deputy Superintendent of Operations update for us.
Madam President, good evening to you and good evening, Board. I do have an update for you this evening. We have lots of good things going on the operations side of our school district. In our child nutrition department, our coordinator of child nutrition, Dylan Bites, applied for and received 4 kitchen equipment grants from the West Virginia Department of Education. These grants include new equipment at the following locations. Blue Ridge Elementary will be receiving a heated holding cabinet for $3,677. They'll also receive a convection steamer for $7,104.60. They'll receive a mobile heated cabinet and a convection oven. So the total of this is $22,638.50. And we do have a replacement schedule for our equipment, so when Dylan selects equipment to be replaced, he selects the oldest and what he believes will be funded. So the state was very generous with us. We're very excited to get this equipment. Dylan also concluded a fresh fruit and vegetable program at Ranson and North Jefferson Elementary. He says that the response at both schools has been outstanding, and I want to share with you some of the things that the students have gotten to try, perhaps for the first time. They have been enjoying avocados, figs, kiwi, starfruit, plums, blood oranges, Honeycrisp apples, white grapefruit, and quinces. And if you don't know what a quince is, and I don't mean to presume no one doesn't, but it is a hard fruit. When you cook them, they soften up and taste really sweet. Students at both schools also enjoyed some West Virginia grown food, including asparagus, spring onions, and strawberries from Tyson's Farms. Other fruits and vegetables served included rhubarb, radishes, chard, which is a lettuce, and carrots. Dylan developed such an enticing flyer with QR codes for the program that the West Virginia Department of Education has used it as the official flyer for the state, which I was pleased to find out Dylan has got some technology skills too. So we're happy to share that with the board if you so desire to look at the flyer. It's very colorful and bright. Another great initiative in the works for child nutrition is the current application of a grant to further develop our Farms to Schools program. This grant would begin a micro orchard. If awarded, Dylan has partnered with Charlestown Middle School and the VOAG teacher there, or the ag teacher there, and they'll be participating together in the grant. The funding would be for up to $3,700 and would include 6 dwarf apple trees, all of which we would purchase disease resistant. This program is closely tied to the students because they would be learning to prune trees and do things to care for the orchard, and it involves the students just learning how to grow and harvest fruit. It's a long-term project. We would fence in the trees, and we will not be using pesticides. Instead, we'll use bug netting, which will be placed over the trees. The trees that we will purchase would be 4 to 6 feet, and they should bear fruit in around 3 years. The nice thing is that students will reap the rewards of that fruit for 15 to 20 years. So it will definitely be sustainable. And the goal is that the student populations would eat these apples as part of the National School Lunch Program. Annually, each of the trees should produce 500 apples. And it's very, like I said, low maintenance and sustainable. Another initiative that we're trying in child nutrition is a test kitchens. For summer school, we're going to start with some new menus. We wanted to start in the summer population and see what they thought of some new menu items. Currently, Dylan and his family are very busy testing these items at home, and he says he's having some rave reviews there. The menus were developed across the country by chefs specifically for school systems, and they're from various sources. They include chicken sliders with homemade honey mustard, cheeseburger wraps, pico de gallo, Hawaiian ham coconut rice, and chili roasted sweet peppers. So all of that sounds very enticing. The next update I want to give you is for maintenance projects and for the bond. The Jefferson High School turf field bond project got kicked off on May 11th with a pre-construction meeting. And then of course we had the little gas supply chain issue which affected drain pipes. So there was a delay in drain pipe. Today they rolled equipment onto the Jefferson High field or in and around it, and tomorrow they will begin work on the Jefferson High turf field. They did not want to dig up the field and just have it exposed and laying there before they received the pipe. So this will not impact the completion of the project. That is still on target and slated to be completed by August 1st. The Wildwood Middle School game field is now fully sodded. It's been a long time coming to fruition. We're excited that it just needs the bleachers and the goalpost, which are in the works. The practice field is underway and side grading is complete. It was roll tested last Friday. So we have to go through some compaction tests, which came out okay today according to Brandon, but the sod installer on this project has requested a bit of time extension for this field because he wants to install it so that it gets plenty of moisture. So we have granted that extension, and that project is now due to be completed in total on July 1st. The tiling bond project is out for bid. We do have a successful bidder which we'll bring to you for the next board meeting. So that project is still on target. As far as our roof bond projects go, Wright Denny and Blue Ridge are scheduled to receive the new roofs this summer, and we ask you to approve those at the last board meeting. South Jefferson's roof received one bid. We look for prices in roofing at about $12 a square foot. We had one bid which was roughly $34 a square foot. So given the lack of timing to go out to bid again, and this is due to materials in the supply chain issue, we are going to defer that project to next summer. This is not just simply a project where we can do it over a Thanksgiving or a Christmas break. It requires several sections. We're taking this roof down to below the decking, so it will have times where it will be exposed to the elements on pretty days, and then they have to sew it all back up at night. So in other words, it has to be leak proof by nightfall. So it's not a project that you want to complete while students are there. So he's working on short-term solutions for that roof. The Shepherdstown Middle School roof received no bids. So it is our goal this summer, because it was a little bit more involved than just the roofing. There is water that lays on the Shepherdstown Middle School roof, so it requires a roof drain. So this summer, due to lack of bids, we'll be working to install a roof drain. And once we have the roof drain in place, then we feel that we'll be able to get some good viable bids next summer to be able to re-roof Shepherdstown Middle School. The Charlestown Middle School asphalt repairs for the track, they're currently out to bid, and the C.W. Shipley awning will be awarded through a national cooperative purchasing contract. So you'll hear more about the Charlestown Middle School bids at the next board meeting when we ask you to approve a recommendation. Mr. Caton is also in process for the bond project of ordering bleachers for Shepherdstown Middle School, which are slated for replacement this summer. The T.A. Lowry SBA HVAC project was successfully rebid. Tonight, during the unfinished portion of our meeting, we will ask you to vote to approve our recommended contractor for the project. As you may recall, this project during the pandemic has come in over budget. We were able to work with the SBA and our architect CMM on the project to reduce its scope. One way we saved money was to order the equipment on our own, So that was taken out of the project, and that saved markup costs on this costly items. We ordered 12 weeks in advance, and this equipment is either here or slated to arrive right on time. This will allow the contractor to complete the work it tails in a timely fashion. The contingency on this project, in order to be rebid and remain on budget, had to be lowered in order to meet budget. So in March 2019, when the project was awarded, it had a contingency of $97,000. The contingency has to be reduced to $24,875. While we don't anticipate any change orders on this project, if we exceed our contingency and change orders, we will be required to use additional local funds on this project, which we have talked about doing and have found funds if necessary to do so within the budget. I want to thank our operations department, the SBA and ZMM in making this project. They've had some diligence and hard work, and we've combined efforts to make sure that we meet the SBA's timeline and get this project completed by June 2022. In transportation, they've had a lot of successes. West Virginia Board of Education Policy 2322, which is the West Virginia System of Support and Accountability Policy, now requires all counties to report on operational effectiveness annually based on 11 indicators of efficiency. The county's performance under any given indicator needs to be designated as meeting requirements or needing assistance, and it's the result of the evaluation of records, reports, and other documents which regard the quality of education and compliance with statutes, policies, and state-approved standards. So for transportation, county boards of ed will be scored based on a point system. There are several different transportation areas that will be assigned a point value with 110 possible points. County boards, by the way, that score 70 or less would be marked for needing assistance. So our very efficient transportation department, in true fashion of their work, scored a perfect score, 110 points, and they are one of 8 counties to do so. We're very proud of them. The mechanics have a defect rate of 0.18. Extremely negligible. And in congratulating them and talking with their newest mechanic, Joe, he said, I want you to know we can do better. And I just want him to know I know it can. But that is absolutely an amazing score. We have one of the best transportation departments in the state. And I'm very proud of that. And the only reason I can't say absolutely the best is because there is this county with 9 buses. So when you consider how many buses, you can't, it's so hard to complete. And I said to the state inspector the last time I saw him, that's not fair. We need to be weighted so much more. But it's the way the system works. So when I say they're number 1, I really do mean it, because 9 buses, they one hand behind their back. But kudos to that county for having a greater score than 0.18. So we want you to help us recruit for bus drivers. Anybody can help us recruit for the upcoming school year. We encourage the board, our staff, members, community, students, anybody to join us in our effort to find bus drivers to join us for the upcoming school year as a substitute bus operator. We offer free training with a great work environment and great hours, and high school diploma is required. And you can call J.R. Holland at 304-725-7664 to learn more. And during my last report, I announced Heather Pindell, our transportation supervisor, was named the Jefferson County Schools Service Personnel of the Year. Well, Heather is rocking on. She's been quite the celebrity since then, most recently doing an interview for All Things Considered on NPR. Last year, NPR spoke with Heather about a program she started to help feed the children of Jefferson County during the pandemic. Heather spoke of her initiatives to not only feed the children of Jefferson County, but her Stuff-A-Bus with these school supplies for Jefferson County students. The program was so successful that Heather plans to expand her community service project statewide. She's always wanted to make a difference, and she certainly does. She gets involved, she takes action in times of need and crisis, and she gets a lot of people behind her. She's very well respected. We're happy to have her as our transportation supervisor. So we thank her for her amazing and selfless work. In technology, we have all Chromebooks in hand to complete our one-to-one initiative. So that's like 3 cheers and go technology department during a pandemic to be able to get all the devices we actually need to start our one-to-one initiative when the new school year comes. That's my update for this evening. And unless you have any questions for me about my update, I am finished.
I don't have a question, but I would just like to say thank you to every single one of the people involved in the multiple different areas that you obviously keep running. And so thank you to you, and thank you to a newer employee like the nutrition that comes in and just takes right over and just makes a difference right away. That means a lot,
Absolutely.
and it's really great.
Absolutely. He visits all the schools on a regular basis, and he's doing a wonderful job. So he fits right into our family, and we're happy to have him.
Nice.
Thank you for that.
Joyce, is our track season over at Jefferson?
It is not, and we have worked diligently with Mr. Stewart and with the track coaches. What is happening with those track students is that we are providing a Jefferson County school bus, and we are busing them to Washington High School. And then there is a return bus at 4 p.m. for them. And Washington, Mrs. Marcus very kindly worked with Jefferson High School so that they have worked out a schedule so that both high schools can use the track.
When the sod gets turned over to us at Wildwood, we do have provisions to put a lot of water on it during the summer, don't we?
We do, and I think that in the contract they have to keep watering it until it's well established. And then I know that Mr. Caton is working with Mr. Vines to establish what kind of programs we need to keep that sod going. For instance, it needs to be just no more than 3 inches, so he'll work with the landscaping company and with Mr. Vines to make sure all of our sod needs are met.
Yeah, we need to be sure we keep people off of that until it's ready to be used.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting held May 10th, 2021, and the special meeting held May 12th, 2021?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have some items that I wanted included in the minutes. I had some questions and I have them here. Do I need to restate them, or is it just not included in the minutes? And I just feel like the minutes are a record. If anybody goes back, they'd have a frame of reference for the questions. So.
Which meeting is it on?
Oh, on both 5:10 and 5:12.
Okay. And are they,
They were the questions that I asked in the meeting. In the 5:12 meeting, I asked if we had any policy or attempt to award the bonds to West Virginia financial institutions, giving them any kind of priority. On the 5:10 meeting, I asked what the Black Genius program was. I asked what the data that Ms. Lewis was referring to. I asked about that data, and then I asked what the school system was doing to recognize Asian Pacific Islander Month. So those were the questions that I asked.
So, Madam President, does it make sense to ask, was it Mr. Cable to rescind his motion and we table that to the next meeting to,
and Ms. Harner
and Ms.
can go
Harner
back?
can reflect those and make sure that we got what we need in there?
Yes, ma'am. And it's actually Mr. Osborne.
Oh, he's, okay.
Would you like to rescind your motion?
I was sitting on that second for my motion.
All right. Is there a motion to table the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Joy. All in favor of tabling the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Cable, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Table the minutes or oppose? Table the minutes?
Are
To
you-
table the minutes?
Yes.
Are you okay with tabling the minutes so they
The
can be
total
corrected?
minutes or just this?
All of the minutes.
No, the minutes from those 2 meetings that we have to make sure are reflected correctly. Not the minutes from today.
Person.
The
No.
minutes, There's a motion, to table the minutes from May 10th and May 12th.
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you. All right, citizens' comments. First up, we have Karen Buck, and after Karen, we have Lynn Welsh.
Did Ms. Lewis ever send you that data? I'm curious.
Ma'am, we are not allowed to answer
I
questions,
know, I
I'm sorry.
understand, I understand. My name's Karen Butt, the concerned parent of a second grader. I urge everyone to carefully watch the May 10th board meeting on YouTube, especially the presentation given by Ms. Tanya Dallas Lewis. Go to YouTube, Jefferson County, West Virginia Schools. 7 weeks ago, I asked our superintendent if the schools were teaching or did they plan to teach CRT. She emailed me back and said, no. Okay. To implement this agenda, the schools will have to hire and pay tax dollars to consultants to promote CRT in the schools. More than a year ago, with our tax dollars, the board hired such a consultant named Tanya Dallas Lewis to specifically promote CRT in the schools. But she called it culturally responsive teaching. Everybody knows what CRT stands for. Calling it something different is sneaky and tricky and a slap in the face to every parent and taxpayer in this county. So what are her qualifications? Well, she's a television broadcast reporter, 12 years at Ion Television. She trained as a cultural proficiency trainer facilitator and became certified in deep equity, which is intensive training in equity and inclusion. That's critical race theory, people. She also makes music videos. Some of her goals: recruit out-of-area teachers of color and increase teachers of color by 9%. So not from West Virginia and not based on qualifications, but based on skin color. She wants to address the achievement gaps for minorities. Okay. So our schools stopped the advanced math courses in the schools, but they started the Black Math Genius program. And the misnomer is no accident. Why not open it up for all the kids? Here's what she's doing right now as we speak. She's recruiting teachers of color from out-of-state universities, not West Virginia, including vice principals and math teachers. She is granting these universities access to the students and staff, those are her words, in exchange for the out-of-state hiring program of teachers. And she wants even more tax dollars to financially support this. She's been training diversity ambassadors to promote critical race theory in our schools. She said students apply for the program, but only certain ones are chosen by Ms. Lewis and Superintendent Gibson. What are the qualifications, I wonder? Some of the current diversity ambassadors are Ranson Elementary principal, social studies teacher at Washington High, as well as a bunch of high school students, which I will not dox here. Ms. Lewis says even the mainstream white kids can benefit from diversity training because it includes things like gender preference. Tanya Dallas Lewis is nothing more than a socialist political operative hired by Jefferson County Schools with our tax dollars. We, the parents and the grandparents, are seeing this agenda very, very clearly.
Ma'am,
The
that's
trust
your
that this
3
board
minutes.
once enjoyed is gone. Thank you.
Next up is Lynn Welsh, followed by Bobby Block.
I agree with everything she said, most of which I didn't know until I heard her say it. But I read an article in the newspaper about the new Cultural Unity and Equity Department, and it's absolutely, it's critical race theory. It's very clear. And I don't think that race should be a criterion for hiring teachers. I think the teachers should be hired because they're good at being teachers and know their subject. I don't think race should even be considered. I was upset when I heard about this black-only math class. I don't understand why you have to segregate a math class. Does the teacher have to be black? You know, it looks like you're picking a class of people who aren't good enough to do the other stuff. I consider it to be completely against everything we fought for in the 60s. We fought for integration very hard and got it. And now you're fighting for segregation. Put us right back where we were. I don't think we should have a Department of Cultural Unity and Equity. I think they ought to spend the money having a department that teaches students manners and respect, because they don't seem to have either. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, next up is Miss Block, and she's virtual. And after Miss Block is Kimberly Huff.
Okay.
Miss Block, can you hear us? Miss Block, we can't hear you if you're speaking. Miss Block? Miss Block, are you there? It sounds like you're trying to connect. Maybe if you turn the video off, it might. Miss Block, are you there? Do we have the ability to tell if she's muted or not muted?
Yeah, you can see it.
Miss Block, if you can hear me, your time's starting. Are you there? It seems the connection is incredibly bad and we can't hear her. Why don't we go on to Ms. Kimberly Huff, and we'll try again one more time before we move on.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Huff, and I had three children go through the school system, and I'm asking for religious rights on vaccines. Children are not guinea pigs. There's a statistically 0% chance of young people dying of COVID-19. To promote an investigational product that has no long-term studies. This is experimental product that has not been fully approved by the FDA, breaks all of the rules of medicine in its goal to protect Americans. The expansion of emergency use authorization for younger children is all risk, but no benefit. This vaccine has side effects. We've never seen side effects from a vaccine like this before. The rotavirus vaccine was canceled for 15 cases of non-lethal side effects. The swine flu canceled for 25 deaths. But now, with the CDC's own data, we are seeing 12,000% increase in deaths with these vaccines, and they're still promoting it. Supporting the science, the survival rate for COVID under the age of 20 is 99.997%. More than 4,000 deaths have been tied to this vaccine. This comes from Americans' frontline doctors. I know the schools had their first dose last week, and I ask to stop this process. I know the COVID vaccine is not mandatory,
but others are. As a parent that was not able to homeschool, I had to use the public school system for my children, and they had to have all their shots. My one child is still suffering with side effects after all these years. So I'm asking you again, can vaccines maybe not be mandatory? There are only 5 states that don't give you an exemption, and we are one of them. Can this be changed? If you look at the Nuremberg Code, you will see that 10,000 plus doctors have come forward in describing how our human rights are being disturbed by this COVID vaccine. I'm totally aware you don't make decisions for this state, but I'm hoping this can be a start. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Block, we'll try one more time. Can you hear us? Ms. Block?
Speaker on her end.
Hmm.
I guess the speaker on her end.
Ms. Block, I'm sorry, Ms. Block, I'm sorry, we can't hear. I'm sorry, we can't, the connection is incredibly bad and we cannot understand what you're saying. We know you have a bad connection. I'm sorry. All right. Next, we have the consent agenda, and there is at least one change, and that is on the superintendent's approval, number 5, for Christy Horning. It's supposed to be a paid leave of absence, not an unpaid leave of absence, so that's been redlined. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cable. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have questions about number 4 and 5.
On the regular human resource?
Under human resources. It looks like these are resignations. Are they full-time positions or stipends? Because they're going back to Jefferson County Schools. So either they're resignations or they're transfers.
Those are listed as resignations. Ms. Loring, are you on the call with us this evening?
I am, sorry. Yes, I am. When I was switching the over, I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
Good
These-
question. Oh, go ahead.
Are these resignations or transfers? Number 4 and 5.
No, they're resignations.
Then why does it say they're going to Jefferson County Schools?
It looks like,
That's just the location of where they're at right now. It's not where they're going to. Their home location is Jefferson County Schools.
it looks like everyone in that column
Yeah, it looks like
was
it shifted
put to
over.
location going to
Well,
instead
that's
of location.
because those are stipends.
No, it's the fact that if you look from number 1 all the way down, every single one until you get down to number 44, if you'll notice, they're all in the going to column instead of the location
Yeah.
column.
Mhm.
So that needs to be amended because they all should be shifted to the left to the location column so it shows you where they actually are right now. I mean, it does show you where they are right now, but the header is in the wrong place.
Correct.
So all of these are incorrect?
Yeah, it looks like the column shifted over, so there is their present location. That's the location that they're resigning from.
So it needs to be noted that the other correction that needs to be made is that from 1 to number 43,
Yeah,
from
needs
number
to move
1
over.
to number 43 needs to be listed under location rather than location going to.
Okay, so 1 to 43,
Yes,
the location going to should read location.
location, correct.
Okay,
Correct.
if you could make a note of that, Ms. Harner, please. Any other question or discussion?
I'd like to amend the motion to table the JCS Summer Experience Black Math Genius Summer Program till we get more information.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's in the attachment
That's on
for
page-
summer,
Page 8.
page 8 of the summer programs 2021.
Yes.
Any other discussion or question?
That would need a second.
All right, so, we have the motion, and then we have the, amendment for changing the location, changing it to location instead of location going to, for number 1 through 43 on the, human resource consent agenda. And then we also have an amendment, to table the summer program, Summer Experience Black Math Genius Summer Program on page 8 of the Summer Programs 2021. Is there a motion to approve the motion with those amendments?
I think I need a-
Second.
I think
Or
I need a
Mark made the
second for
motion.
that.
I second.
Oh, I didn't do a second.
All right, any other discussion or questions? All right, so we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with those amendments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Next up, we have, action on approval for the district's fuel bid for school year 2022. Ms. White, that's you again, I believe?
It is. This evening, I'm asking the board to approve the fuel bid for Jefferson County Schools. I'm asking only for Blossman Propane that you accept this bid. I would like just to make it for the propane only, and with the intention of rejecting the bid for Petroleum Traders, as we have found that on a state bid, we found that to be much more cost effective for the district than the one bid we received. So at this time, if it's the board's desire to please accept Blossman Propane only.
All right, is there a motion to accept Blossman Propane as the district's propane fuel bid for school year 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, and
Mr.
we will
Osborne, Ms. Ogden.
pursue the state bid, and there's just a lot more cooperative purchasing power there for fuel.
Okay. So we have a motion made by Mr. Osborne, seconded by Ms. Ogden, to approve the Blossman Propane for the district's propane fuel bid for school year 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, next we have the request approval of the RFP bid for T.A. Lowry Elementary School HVAC SBA project.
If you could approve the vendor, Callis was the successful vendor for that bid, if you could approve that recommendation.
He was significantly less than the next highest.
Yes. And that puts that project, as I explained in my update, in budget.
All right, so is there a motion to approve, and it's Callis Contractors, is that correct? For the bid for the T.A. Lowry Elementary School HVAC SBA project. Is that a motion, Mr.
So
Osborne?
moved.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cable. Any question or discussion? All in favor of approving Callis for the T.A. Lowry Elementary HVAC SBA project bid, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Request approval to solicit bids through an RFP for the district's milk supplier.
You'll note that in past years, we did not have a milk bid as we paired with Berkeley County and got in with more buying power. Berkeley County is now purchasing their milk coolers, and we are still in need of renting our milk coolers, and it's cheaper right now for us to rent them than to purchase the milk coolers and then find people to work on them once they go down. So we're asking that you approve an RFP so that we can go out for our own milk bid for the district for the upcoming school year.
Is there a motion to approve the solicitation of bids through an RFP for the district's milk supplier?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Joy. Any question or discussion? The only question I would have is, when we do get those bids, if you could compare it, if the cost of that milk going out on our own instead of partnering with Berkeley, is significantly higher to the point where the cooler difference is, if you could just look at that, that would be appreciated.
I don't know if they've gone out to bid or not, but in order for us to be in on any kind of bid, if it's still timely to do so, would mean the purchase of these coolers. And Dylan did investigate that prior to going out on our own, but I'm happy to take a second look at that.
Or even if, I don't know who they're going with, if you have to purchase their coolers, or if it's something that we could still get milk from them even though we're renting coolers from someone else. I mean,
We're
we
happy to
just-
look into it. Sure, absolutely.
Excellent. All right.
Thank you.
So we have a motion. All in favor of soliciting bids through an RFP for the district's milk supplier, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Action on approval of McCormick grant recommendations for school year 21-22.
Hoping we have Suzanne Schwartz available for us to present to you this evening the recommendations for the McCormick grant.
Ms. Swartz, are you there? Ms. Swartz, are you ready to present the McCormick grant recommendations? Ms. Swartz, are you there? Technology is great when it works.
Are we able to skip that and come back to it, or you make a motion to do that?
Mrs. White, can you check to see, somebody's ringing the doorbell frantically. I don't think that's Ms. Swartz out there, but. And if we do come back to this, is Ms. White the one doing the tennis courts, or is that you?
Tennis courts.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and move on to number C, and come back to this. Action on approval of use of Jefferson High School tennis courts.
Yes, this evening we're asking that the board approve the City of Charlestown and Jefferson County Memorial Park to use the tennis courts at Jefferson High School on June 27th, June 11th, and July 25th. And we know that we are currently planning on resurfacing and talking to Mr. Caton this afternoon. He said he may have to bounce them around between Washington High, but he felt like he could accommodate the requests while not disrupting our resurfacing efforts.
And that was for June 27th, July 11th,
And
July
July
25th?
25th.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the use of the tennis courts?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second?
Second.
I have
Thank you,
Susan
Ms.
right
Joy.
here.
Sorry, I thought we could do it by Zoom, and then I was at home and I didn't see how, and
And you zoomed right in.
I did zoom right in. Okay.
Do we finish that one first or go back? We need all in favor.
We have a motion on the table to approve the tennis courts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Going back to the approval of the McCormick grant recommendations. If you've caught your breath, whenever you're ready, ma'am.
Okay. So we met on, I can't remember when we met. That was a couple weeks ago. May 4th. And we had a lot of money. Sorry, I had all this ready to roll.
Do you want my notes that I uploaded, Susan?
Do what?
Do you want the notes that I uploaded?
I have it right here. I just don't know where I put the exact, all the amounts. My apologies. Okay, so on the back, we granted 112, or we are recommending to grant $112,187.07. The check was in the amount of $165,366. $1,800.40, and $1,800 goes to administrative costs for the secretary treasurer. 10% goes to the media center, so that was $16,357. So we had $147,209. Money's left over from grants from last year because they didn't get to do the musical again. It was about $23,000. So we had $170,209.40 to disperse. So they're all there on the front and the chart. JP Lynch, $32.50 for the 2021 halftime drill. It was unanimously approved. $31,113 to JP Lynch for instruments. It was also approved to recommend in full unanimously. Mariah Dorfner, $15,583.07 for a tilting kettle for Pro Start. It was also approved in full unanimously. Jeremy Knight, Brian Mulligan, and Dana Jurashek, $7,061.94 for furniture for a diversified classroom setting. Last year, I think it was, they wanted something similar, and the Board of Education representative of the trust, Ms. Fisher, said that it did not meet the criteria, so I asked her again about this, and she said no. So we did not recommend that.
And that was the representative from Bank of Charlestown?
Yes, Carolyn Fisher. Michael English Sr. put in $19,450 for Chromebook cases, and we denied because it does not promote education, and we didn't fund the Chromebooks, or McCormick didn't fund the Chromebooks. Plus, at that point, there was no submission of evaluations from previous grants, which brings us to the next one. He put in for $61,868.73 for ViewSonics, and at first we denied because he didn't follow the guidelines, but we did have a caveat since we had some left over. And if he turned in an evaluation, I think it was by May 20th, then we would
recommend the rest of the money that was left, $58,022.33, to do them, to approve the ViewSonics, and he did, and so we recommend that. Ms. Crawford had 3 there, $4,000 for stage mirrors, $5,000 for dance class supplies, materials, and equipment, $8,500 for Charisma Dance Ensemble supplies, materials, and equipment, and we recommend to approve those in full. Ms. Stillo wanted 3 iPads for the Severe and Profound Classroom, but they were denied because IT doesn't support iPads, but we had a discussion about that. They don't support it as a group, but in this case, these were for like the special education students, for those who forgot to bring their iPads back to school so they'd have them. And so we want to make sure that they understand that for the next time that they put them in. But she did say she had spoken with the special education director of people services, and they said to let them know if it was on the IEP, then they would get it through the assistive tech. Mr. English also put in for a commercial microwave for the cafe, $1,358, and we don't recommend that because it does not really promote education. Kellington, Garland, and Crawford would like to try for another musical, and in case you're wondering why all this is happening, they couldn't get, I think, streaming rights for the other ones, so I'm thinking that maybe Beauty and the Beast must have streaming rights, so we recommend to approve that unanimously. Hannah Kellington Myers, $11,000 for show choir competition show, choreography, arranging, costuming, and set design. We recommend to approve in full. And Megan Garland, $3,741, the Digital Theater Plus, to approve in full. So it does come out to, I think it's like a few cents of the $170,000. We did run into, I put this in here, it has gotten resolved, but at the beginning of the year we did run into some issues when the laptops went all out of our building for one-to-one devices, because they're not supposed to, anything that McCormick grants not supposed to leave the building. And so I put that in there. It has since been resolved, but Mrs. Fisher did say that there's nothing in the document that states they have to remain at JHS. They just have to be for use for JHS students, but we didn't have any of that. And it has to be for, obviously, to promote educational services. So we have them all marked now, so I hope it's going to be all taken care of. So that's that. Sorry.
Thank you very much. And we're glad you're able to join us. When we couldn't get you on Zoom and we were calling and we heard the doorbell ring, we thought,
well,
maybe that's her. And sure enough, it was you.
It wasn't like before where I could see people, and I thought, and then when the public comment folks started getting up here, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to be there. So I hopped up in the car, and here I am.
Your timing was perfect.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
I got stopped at that light always at where Chick-fil-A and all those are. I thought, oh.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the $170,209.40 for the 21-22 McCormick grant recommendations?
Madam President, I'm going to recuse myself since I sit on this committee. I think it would be a conflict of interest for me to, as a board, as the board representative, to sit on the committee. I don't want to have to vote on it.
All right.
I'll do it for you. So moved. I used to sit on that chair.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Cable. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. All in favor of approving the McCormick?
Chance to ask questions?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Did you have a
Yeah.
question?
What is ViewSonics?
They're the big boards like that.
Okay, and what was the class, or is that for, I don't understand.
They're replacing all the whiteboards,
Oh,
the
I
smart
see.
boards
Okay,
with
that makes sense
ViewSonics.
now. Okay, and the other question, it just is this, with the iPads for special ed, that's just, were they able to get them from the special ed department?
I don't know. I haven't. I mean, I sent out an email telling her that, but I haven't spoken with her about it.
Yeah, it just, you know, it's really difficult to get technology put into your IEP? I mean, parents have a hard time, so.
Well, they all
it's just
have iPads,
concerning.
apparently, in talking with her before, or in what she wrote in her grant. They have iPads with their stuff on them loaded, but they forget to bring them back. And then it was just to have them in class. So
Right?
we have some in the CTE department that McCormick bought, and when I wrote her the note, I said, you know, if you need to, you can come up and get them to use.
So they are available to them to keep in the class for the rest of the year, I guess, so.
Well, I mean, if they need them, you know, I don't know. We've got 4 days left, so I don't know if they're.
Oh, this is for this year?
No, but it's for next year. But I don't know if I need to have a conversation. We spoke a long time about this at the meeting. Well, not a long time, but we discussed it. That we think that Ms. Rowan is looking at it from an IT have to maintain the iPads like the computers and laptops, whereas they wouldn't. It's just to have them. So hopefully we can figure out something for next time if they can't get them through their IEP. Or, like I said, we have the ones that are already there that they could utilize if need be.
Are these like up to date, the ones you have?
No,
Yeah.
I can't remember. Maybe 7 years ago we got them.
I mean, I think of anybody that needs technology, it would be severe and profound handicapped children.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't understand that. So, I mean, how does it work?
Well, with the McCormick grant, there's a committee, and then their recommendation gets approved by the trustee at the bank, if I understand correctly, and this is just the committee's recommendation. So this has nothing to do with providing, you know, technology for IEP students.
But it sounded like Miss Rowan, is that the
Everything technology has to go through the person who's in charge of technology. And we used to go through Todd Chekaricki, and then when Dr. Rowan came on, we had to go through her. And I don't know if she's, I mean.
So I can maybe help a little bit to clear this up.
Okay.
So all of the students currently have iPads, and after, if it's written into an IEP, let's say versus keeping it generic and writing an assistive technology device, and they're specifically writing an iPad. So the district doesn't in general support those, and particularly when the iPads are 7 years old, it's going to become a little obsolete. However, Jill Pangle will support those in special ed, and of course Jen will as well if it's written into an IEP and for a special education student. So what she's saying, if I understand and I've heard right, is that they have the iPads. Some use it for assistive device, some use it for different IEP needs. And so if they forget it at home because they've taken it home to use, they don't have anything when they come to school. So this is just a second one. Probably a great idea that if they're 7 years old and becoming obsolete, that we upgrade those anyway.
Oh, I
so
don't
they're
know
easier
about
to work
theirs.
on.
I'm talking about the ones we have
Right.
in CTE, but I don't know
okay.
what they
So
have in
that's
special
my
ed.
understanding from the special ed portion. Also, Jill Pangle in special ed supports all of the devices, the assistive technology for special education students, so she works closely with Ms. Rowan.
I don't know that you said anything different though, but I feel like these children would most likely forget their iPads. So it seems like they would need iPads in the class
Mhm.
and at home
Mhm.
because they're so easy to get damaged in transport. And I mean, how many are we talking about? And is there another way to?
Well, we're, not to cut you off, but we're
Okay.
getting a little off
Okay.
topic, because that's
Sorry.
kind of a whole nother, that's
Yeah.
technology in the schools, and this
Right.
is the McCormick grant. And this is what the committee came up with. The committee is the one that, you know, approves or denies it, and then they get approval. So we just need to kind of focus in on
Well,
the
no, it was
McCormick
Miss
grant.
Rowan that didn't approve it, correct?
She said that they were not supporting iPads at this time.
So it was.
But she also went a step further and talked to, she checked with Pupil Services, and if the child's IEP includes it, then Pupil Services would provide through assistive tech. Committee discussed this as a possibility, not being something IT had to support and how it benefits the special ed classroom. And I will let our IEP coordinator know so that they can work together to see what they can do.
To rush and get all this added to everybody's IEP.
Well, I mean,
Well, and they also just went one-to-one for technology, so there are those
They'll have to have
additional
those too.
supports, and they'll have all of those as well. So there was a lot of other supports. So in this case, you know, the McCormick grant is set up, you know, they have the committee goes back and says, we wanna do this, this, and this, these are the grants that we're gonna support. They send it forward to the board, and the board says yes or no.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just, the one-to-one and an iPad for a child with severe,
Well, remember, they're not doing the Chromebooks for the lower grades for K to 2, and they did talk about how the assistive devices such as the iPad, but it was a Chrome, something along that line, but
Yeah, there's a Chromebook that, with a touch screen that
right.
could be, so there's some different options. Basically, I think it comes down to if an IEP requires some form of technology, whether it's an iPad or any other form, the county will support that purchase and need. So I think what Dr. Rowan's stance was is we just need to be cautious stepping forward because they do have to make sure that there is support for any devices that are purchased, and we want to make sure. And so that's where I think Dr. Rowan was coming from. She's just wanting to make sure that whatever is purchased is being supported so that there is no long-term issues or concerns related to students accessing the tools that they need to be successful in the classroom. To answer another question that you brought up too, the pandemic obviously left us very short-handed technology-wise, and the intent is to return all the devices that were borrowed to try to help in the emergency situation. And so that they should all be back in place, I would assume, by the beginning of next school year, so.
yeah,
answer
they're
that.
working on it. Done.
All right. Any other questions about the McCormick grant approval? All right, we have a motion to approve the $170,209.40 for the McCormick grant recommendations 21-22 school year. All in favor? Ms. Ogden, Mr. White, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
sorry, I
And I'm abstaining
Oh,
from that.
that's right.
I recuse myself.
All right. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the effort of
Well, don't
coming.
forget- Don't forget your purse.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. I wouldn't get far, but thank you so much. I'm sorry I was late.
All right. Mr. Daly, do you have anything under superintendent comments this evening?
I do not, I think, just happy to hear all the positives going on this evening, so, but other than that, I think we have a request for an executive session with no action afterwards.
Okay. And I believe that goes under legal, correct?
Yes, legal, yes.
All right. Is there a motion to go into executive session for legal with no action anticipated?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cable. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All right. 8:10. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.